Well, after trying to do my show on the green room, I'm a little bit annoyed because I tried twice last night and they said they would send me a copy of my recording, and then I have got nothing to my email. So apparently I got screwed over somehow. But I guess to recap, I sent an invite to people. Hopefully they'll start showing up. But to recap, so basically I was talking about Tony Hawk and how I've been playing that. It's the Pro Skater 1 and 2, but I've only been playing the one side still. And then I've been, doing other things like working and whatever else. So I've been pretty busy. But yeah, so like with the, one of the things I had talked about was how crazy it is. Steam Deck's coming out. There's a shortage on like the graphics cards or whatever it is for PS5, Xbox Series X, and all of those, I think. And like supposedly everything or almost everything, something like that, uses it. And then it's like the Steam Deck's gonna come out, but it might make like PS5, Xbox Series X more available, hopefully. But it's gonna be one of those things that the market's been so crazy that hopefully it'll even out a little bit. Some people can get some stuff that they hadn't been able to find. But yeah, then I got into Darnold. Panthers won on Thursday night. Probably wasn't exactly all in this order, but anyway, he won. I was talking about MVPs, Sam Darnold's playing really well. People are talking about Derek Carr, of course. List goes on and on. But we got some marquee matchups. I believe the Bucks are playing the Rams. That's going to be a big game. And then you got stuff like the Patriots and Buccaneers is coming up next week. So, yeah, I mean, it's going to be, all hands on deck for some of these teams because they got some pretty heavy-duty opponents that they got to go up against. So, it's it's going to be interesting. I'm trying to think what else we can touch on. There's been a lot of injuries for sure. I believe I heard Big Ben is playing, but he was going to be out at first. But yeah, it's kind of interesting if you think about it, because like some people are getting annoyed because with this MVP talk, there's only been like 2 weeks played, 2 full weeks played, and then everybody's, that's the fun thing to talk about all the time is who's the MVP gonna be? Who you think, Jameis Winston after week 1? And it gets a little old for some people, I think, but I don't really mind it. I think it's always fun to speculate on who might end up being the MVP. Yeah, so and then of course today we got college football. And Ben Simmons continues to be, on shows. People are talking about him, which he's being a big baby. He's playing with one of the best NBA teams, but he's not happy. Oh, boo-boo. Why don't you trade me to someone that sucks? That's kind of what's going to happen, right? I think someone talked about that on my show the other day. I think it was like last week or whatever. But, yeah, he's got to start growing up, People are only knocking his game because, it is true. Like, he has stuff that he needs to improve on. And, especially if he wants to keep making money, like his next contract. Because I think he might have got one already that's giving him good money now. But, yeah, and then Golden State said they're not interested in him. They're rumored to be competing again for a championship. They got Clay's coming back, and of course they always got Steph Curry. And but they straight out said they're not interested in Ben Simmons on their team. So yeah, but that's pretty crazy. Well, I'm not sure where everyone's at, but I feel like I'm kind of doing this pretty early. I'll send some more invites and hopefully some people will get on the show here. I put up a really funny, well, people thought it was really funny, was I called it Breakfast with Roby. It's on the Sports, Video Games, and More YouTube channel. But, with that, and then I did like a dancing video on a different YouTube channel. I posted it like a year ago. So with those two things, I started thinking, what can I do comedy-wise for my own podcast? Not necessarily this podcast. Although sometimes funny stuff is said on this podcast, but it's not super often, So I got to thinking, well, what is it that I could do, that I think I would be pretty good at. I think it might be really funny. So I got to thinking about, when I was a kid, or really a teenager, I enjoyed recording, like hitting the record button and making this comedy skit. It was pretty much a comedy skit, Like I like to say, think of like, in a way, I try to keep it cleaner so everyone can listen, but like that's the main reason. But like, I like to think Saturday Night Live or South Park for a podcast is the way I like to look at it. But I'm really thinking about launching this. I already have my first episode I recorded last night. But if I do it, it's going to be called The Joe Scratchy Show. And Joe Scratchy was basically, and I can't do it as good as when I was a kid. I can't do the exact same voice. So really, it sounds almost like, sometimes it sounds like that guy from Trailer Park Boys, Bubbles. It kind of does a little bit. But and then Bark, there's another character named Bark, and I can kind of do his voice, I think, almost exact. Probably my voice in and of itself's probably changed a little bit, but that doesn't matter that much. But it's one of those things that, like, I think it could be really funny, Yeah, like, I think it has potential to be really funny. It's basically about all of us getting back together after all these years, and we make a radio show, and we're trying to find our way. Basically, we're just podcasting, trying to land on radio airways and trying to make money, yeah, like it's kind of a weird little thing, but I think it could be pretty funny. So, hopefully you guys will check that out. If it's not 100% for sure that I'm going to put it out, because I have to figure out, like, is that going to embarrass me too much? Is it going to be worth it? Are people actually going to think it's funny and it's going to work out good? I don't know. I'm not really sure, but I think that it doesn't hurt to try. I can always delete all of it if I feel like I need to. So I sent it to a couple family members, the first episode, just kind of see what they thought, but I think I'll probably still put it out either way. But yeah, I just felt like I need to make sure that that's something I want to do, because I put my name on it. I got my music out there now. People can buy it in stores, online stores, and I got my podcast and / YouTube channel. So I just was thinking, like, it's all great and good to, make a comedy podcast, but you kind of got to make sure that, that this is something you want to add to everything you're doing right now, And even if it's not good to add it now, maybe later on it will be. Or maybe it never will be. I don't know. But I think it'll be all right, honestly. I think as long as people are laughing and enjoying it, and it can become something, I don't see why it has to affect what it might even help my music, because it'll get my name out there maybe, and if it does get my name out there, then sports, video games, and more could become even bigger. The biggest thing a lot of times that you hear for podcasting or YouTube is you just got to be putting content out, and I'm so busy with working and everything that I'm not able to put much content out at all. But in fact, I think it was the last 2 weeks, I was putting out like 3 podcasts a week. They were, all about an hour long, or maybe even more than that. And it's just, it can become too much because I work a 50-hour a week job. I'm helping run my household. Like I think I do like majority of things when it comes to my house and household. And and that's not to put my wife down, like she still does stuff, but I guess the only point I'm saying is like that I am pretty busy. Like it is true that I'm a busy dude. So, I enjoy doing the podcasting and I enjoy all these things, but it's you only get so much time in a day, so it's almost have to figure out how much I'm gonna do this, how much I'm gonna do that type thing. But it is one of those things though that it's gonna be. I think it's all gonna come around, to where it needs to be in the end, and in a way, I think it already is. But but like the podcasting thing and all that, like it can take years. I think I've said this before on this podcast, but it can take years for you, from what I've heard, for you to get your name out there. So, and honestly, I would rather do this and do YouTube videos and all that than do my 50-hour a week job. So, and even if I'm doing my 50-hour a week job, I'm not against making money. Like, if people like my content and they want to support me, then I'll take whatever they want to give me because that's a blessing into my life, And I know I said a little bit different. I think it was like a month ago or whatever. I kind of was like, well, you don't need money for the most part, and like the thing is though, that I think that it's always good to not crave to be overly greedy. I think it's always good to like balance your emotions with that. And I think that's part of what I was trying to do with what I had said, for sure. But at the same time, like at the end of the day, everybody wants money if they're able to get it, especially for stuff that they're creating or working or doing. And so, like, if I ever get to the point that all these things are making me filthy rich, like, it is what it is. Like, I've worked hard at what I do at that point, and like, I feel like people that work should get paid. You know what I mean? So it's always up to the listeners, though, because like that other podcast I'd referenced back then, like fans can choose to support or not support. Like they'll get something extra out of it always, like but and then that's all that's all it would be really is you start adding like advertising maybe in here and there. I would personally not like a lot of that because I know that gets really annoying when you're listening to a podcast. So I don't think I'd want like 4 commercials every episode or anything stupid. But I mean, then you start looking at like YouTube, you can eventually opt in for to make money through that. Then you start looking at Patreon. Your fans can support you, on there, and they get something extra. So all that is music to my ears, really. And if all this that I'm doing or any of it or whatever got so big that I didn't have to do my current job, like I would rather do this. That means fans are enjoying it, and that means that they want more content, and I can do more content, so everybody wins. You know what I mean? And also when people support, they're not given more than they can or they shouldn't be. They're given like that extra, you know, $5 that really was just laying around or whatever. You know what I mean? But that would probably, if I could do this for a living, it'd probably de-stress my life a whole lot, because I know I get really stressed and uptight because I feel like always busy, you know. So yeah, I mean, I'm not against you know, doing all this full time. I'm definitely not. Um, you know, and you know, that's kind of the cool thing is, you know, when you have that free time, you can choose the amount that you're going to do this show, the amount you're going to do that show, if you want to add a new show or not. You get so many options, and that's what makes it really awesome too. But whereas right now, I only got, you know, Saturday morning is a for sure podcast. And then I'm kind of stressing myself trying to do a second show for the week sometimes. But sometimes it is fine. Like Sunday morning, I could do one. But I think because we were talking about doing Sunday night, and it's like, or Monday night, and it's like, man, I can't even stay up that late. You know, like I got work like really early in the morning. So yeah, it is what it is. But you know, I think that the realization of you know, the realization that you got to view things differently, and realize that, like, you know, the more work you put in, the better, but you have to kind of balance everything out too, so that you're not like wearing yourself out, and you're able to do, you know, your everyday things that you're responsible for too, which I do. I've never like neglected stuff that I shouldn't get done, you know. But I think that I did start realizing, like, with doing the Sunday Monday night one, and I was doing like, because I think it was last week I did like 3 podcasts in a row. They were all an hour, and it wasn't just because of the podcast, but I'd been busy with my music stuff and whatever else. So I started to realize, like, man, dude, like, I feel like I'm ignoring my wife, you know. So that's one of those things that, you know, as a husband, you just gotta realize, like, you know, you gotta think about other people, you know, and realize, like, sure, you can do all these things technically, like you have the time, but what about the time you're supposed to be putting into other stuff too, into your wife and all that, you know? So it's, yeah, so it's just one of those things that I don't know if you guys are wondering, but if anybody's wondering why the format of the show keeps changing, it's just because I'm trying to figure it out. You know, it's one of those things. So, well, let me look here. I guess I'll start looking at the NFL matchups. Let's see here. All right, so we got the. Let's see. I went back too far. All right, we got Panthers 24, Texans 9, and they're really missing what's his face? I can't think of his name now. Tyrod Taylor. They're really missing him. He got injured. All right, Chargers Chiefs. I'm gonna go Chiefs. The Chargers are a good team, but I think we all would side with Mahomes and, the Chiefs being the better team. Cardinals, Jaguars. I'm going to go Cards. The Jags, I saw them against the Broncos last week, and they're just really not doing a whole lot. It doesn't seem like. Let's see. Bears, Browns. I think the Browns would be the obvious pick on that one. I think they are the home team. I'm pretty sure. Washington at the Bills, man, I wish Washington would change that name because I know people are getting used to it, but it's just so weird compared to other teams. And it would be kind of sick to see like Washington Generals or something. All right, Colts and Titans. I'm going to take the that's kind of a tough one. I think I'm going to go Titans on that, though. Maybe it's not as tough as I was thinking. Let's see. Saints and Patriots. Oh, man, that is a tough one right there. You know what? I'm actually going to take the Saints. Oh, man, that is tough, though, because I think that's at the Patriots Stadium. Oh, man. All right, I'll just take Patriots because they got the home field advantage. All right, Falcons, Giants. I'm actually going to lean to the Falcons. I think Daniel Jones has a hard time getting it done. They still got Matt Ryan. They got some talent there on the Falcons to some degree. I think they just got a little bit more than the Giants. So yeah, I'm going Falcons. Bengals, Steelers. I think Joe Burrow is going to be a really great quarterback, but I think he's still figuring it out, and I have a little more confidence in Mike Tomlin and that team. So I'm going to go Steelers. I know they've had a little bit of issues with Big Ben's injury or whatever, that type of stuff, but I'm still going with that. Let's see, Ravens, Lions. I think the Ravens are a no-brainer there. This is another no-brainer. I'm going Jets, this is Jets, Broncos. I'm going Broncos. Dolphins, Raiders. I'm going to give the momentum actually to the Raiders. I think they're going to win because Derek Carr has been having a great year. He seems to have really figured it out. Let's see, Buccaneers, Rams. That's a really tough matchup. That really is. But I'm going to go Bucks. Seahawks, Vikings. I think Russell Wilson's going to get it done. So I'm going to go Seahawks. Packers, Niners. That is a little tough, but I'm going to go with the Pack. And then Monday night, we got Eagles, Cowboys. So I'm actually going to go with the Cowboys. I feel like they're the stronger team. So that's going to be, that's going to be pretty crazy. But, so, but all this injury stuff, it's one of those things that you kind of just deal with throughout the year. But, like Carson Wentz, he's got to pretty much play in a bubble. That guy, like, just constantly, Wentz just cannot stay healthy. And, it's really hard on everybody on that team probably if they believe in him. Which going into the year, like I did kind of believe in him. I figured, that Wentz was, gonna be with that O line or whatever for the Colts, a better team. I figured he would actually be something, but he just can't keep himself healthy. And it's disappointing for the franchises when, I mean, that whole thing was a debacle with the Philly and him. It's still almost crazy, what went down with all that, because it seemed like they had their franchise guy, but I don't know. It is crazy. Like when Carson Wentz, I think it was it his first year they won the Super Bowl, or it might have been his second, huh? But you just knew that they were counting on him, and that he seemed like he was working out for them. And there was a lot of times, 3-4 years in, or whatever it was, that it sounded like he was playing good, but they just sometimes weren't winning or whatever. And it's just crazy. I think the fact that he played in Philadelphia, I really feel like might have been the ending factor on his side, because that fan base is harder to play for, but I just think that the more that you look at this guy, he's, the fact that he's so injury prone is just, it's really hard to be anything too great when you're injured constantly, I don't think he's gonna have too many more opportunities, and you've seen this before where, for one reason or the other, it was like the Vikings with Teddy Bridgewater, they ended up basically moving on from him because he kept recovering, with his injury. So if the Colts, find out that somebody else is actually doing really well, then there goes Wentz's job, and they, I guess, maybe try to trade him, or I don't know. I'm just guessing here, but speaking of, I wanted to mention really fast that I don't think it's that crazy that Teddy Bridgewater, if he were to continue what he's been doing, playing really well, I don't think it's crazy, that he would be possibly the MVP at the end of the year. I think crazier things, have happened, because he could be at that point where he's about to break out. I mean, he's not a bad player, right? And he's been throwing the ball down the field farther, than he has in years past, I think. Don't quote me on that, but it does seem like he's really doing a lot of things really well right now. And so if he keeps up the pace he's at, and he keeps expanding and growing and getting better throughout the season, it's unlikely, but I wouldn't say it's impossible that Teddy could be the MVP of the league. So as a Broncos fan, I feel really encouraged with him at quarterback. I'm glad that we keep winning. Like, this has been a really great thing, and to think that he just kept going around teams and ended up with us is awesome. So and I feel like the Broncos, as long as things are looking good enough, I feel like they're ready to settle on a guy. So there goes all his moving team from team, Yeah, but he's a cool dude, and I've heard like really good things about him, and so maybe he's the perfect fit for the Denver Broncos. I think they're having a hard time letting go of Locke, but they may have to, Drew Lock has just not lived up to what they thought he would be, unfortunately. And, because he seemed like he'd be a really cool quarterback for us. And like he might play good, but the thing is, like, he hasn't played good at all. Like, I think maybe his rookie year, at like the end of that, he like played really good, and it had me really hopeful for the coming year. And then it just didn't go well, and it seems like for the most part it just hasn't gone well. So when you get something that's going good, you can't pull the plug, and it always seemed a little weird that they were keeping him on the roster, but if they were going to end up going with Bridgewater, but I think that they didn't know who they were going to go with for sure. But it is what it is. I don't know where Locke would be a good fit. I really don't. But I guess if you put him on, I don't know, with one of the injured teams, with like an injured quarterback, maybe they would like trade for him or something. But, there's kind of Cam Newton sitting out there. Maybe the Broncos would move Drew Lock. But I just don't know. It's kind of like after watching the Broncos, I don't know what teams would actually want to give Drew Lock a shot, is the thing, because he's not really, I feel like he's not really a proven starter right now, So, yeah, I don't really know, like what to do, or what Locke needs to do, to, I guess, just play good. But he's not going to get any opportunities if Bridgewater's the Broncos quarterback. So it's very possible that he has used up like all of his opportunities to prove he's a starter, and he's now going to always be a backup, maybe, But I mean, he had some years to prove it. So, nobody, if you're wanting to be a starter, which I think that's kind of the goal, right? I guess you're really going to have to, in the NFL these days, you're going to have to hurry up and prove that you belong there, because it is a cutthroat league, like you could be the quarterback. I mean, we've seen guys be quarterback for a year, and then it didn't work out. They scrap them. The Browns come to mind for sure. They used to do that constantly, but it seems unfair to the guy for sure. But at the same time, when you get people that, I guess Darnold would have been an example, maybe. But it's like, or Derek Carr, I feel like is a pretty good example too. But you see that they're in the spot they're in for like years, and you're thinking, why hasn't the team moved on? But that's an example, I guess, that I guess maybe this contradicts what I'm saying. Maybe I don't know. I guess it does, but you see like Derek Carr, they kept taking on, and that's exactly what he needed. And even though it had been years, now they probably have their guy who's going to play at a high level for a lot of years. So you just, I don't know. It works differently for different people, but it's so hard to hang on for 5 years because what if it just never happens for that guy? So I think it needs a balance. I don't agree at all with giving a guy a year and then you leave, or you like release the guy, he leaves. But I think that it needs a balance, like there's case to case depending on the candidate, depending on the situation. You may want to only keep him 2 years, or if it was a backup, basically he's never going to have the chance to ever be the starter based off of all the scouting, all that, then I could see walking away from him within a year, if not sooner. But if you got somebody like Drew Lock, for instance, like I think you probably give him like 3 years, which I think they did, right? But the problem with the Broncos is they've been so desperate for so long and have to get this quarterback situation right that they may not be able to give the guy another extra year because the fan base is going to want blood. You know what I mean? But it's just crazy because you end up with situations like this where where you end up depending on, that's what's crazy about the draft, is depending on where you get drafted, your situation, a lot of that factors into your success, but sometimes it comes down to the individual too. So it's just going to be crazy to see, what happens to some of these guys. Cam Newton, I think he can still play at a pretty high level, or high enough to be a starter in this league, depending on the situation. But the thing that I like a pretty good amount, or the thought of it sounds really awesome at least, is Cam Newton on the Steelers. I mean, that just sounds really awesome. I can't wait. Or, well, I don't know. It probably won't happen, but if it does, like, I can't wait to watch him play in a Steelers uniform and be like running all over the field and stuff. Like, that would be a really cool thing to have Cam Newton, be a Steeler, play with Tomlin, and that'd be. I feel like that'd be like the best gig he could get, almost. Like if anything's possible, that may be possible. But I think that Washington, they're gonna keep going with Heineke, and I don't know that Rivera was ever interested in really bringing him in. But Cam Newton, I think he's like really talented, and it'd be a shame if his career was cut this short. But if he's not playing at a high level, I mean, it makes it less as hard if he ends up retiring early. but hopefully he's still got a lot in the tank, and hopefully he can land a spot and do some stuff, and we'll get some really good entertainment, including his press conferences. He's hilarious. So, well, guys, I don't know where everybody's at, but I gotta probably move on with my day here. Maybe I'll put up a little episode later when it's a little later in the day. But yeah, because I didn't really have any guests. I was hoping we'd have a guest or two. But yeah, so I'm gonna end this show, and then I'll try coming back probably in 30 minutes or so. But everyone, thanks for listening. I'll put this podcast up, and you'll have something to look forward to later. So thanks, guys.